Hey YouTube, this is Rescue Smart Fan 62. In today's video, I'm here to talk about the Royal Rumble going to Saudi Arabia next year, as well as the Saudi in general. Now, if you're not aware, right before Royal Rumble a couple of weeks ago, it was announced that the Royal Rumble for 2026 is going to Saudi Arabia. And that has made a lot of people very uncomfortable. I can see why it makes them uncomfortable just because of what Saudi is known for. There are a lot of things in that I don't exactly agree with doing it, but at the end of the day, Saudi Arabia is paying WWE $50 million or more to be having that there. The Saudi Arabia deal started in 2018. So the Saudi Arabia shows originally weren't meant to be taken seriously. It was one of those things where it was sort of like, an easy payday, and that's really about it. And it's really nothing to be like, okay, I got to tune into this type thing. So the first official Saudi show they had was essentially an extended version of the Royal Rumble called the Greatest Royal Rumble. This was 3 weeks after WrestleMania. And instead of having 30 men, it had 50. And at this time, there was no women. So you had people like Braun Strowman and all these other people from like NXT and all of that at the time. And so there was a couple of people that the Prince of Saudi Arabia wanted, but because they were either retired or dead, they couldn't do them, so they did somebody similar. So, and then after that, all of the Saudi shows were either Crown Jewel or Super Showdown. I believe the Super Showdown was the second Saudi show that year, and then Crown Jewel was the next year. So, and then in like so I believe it was 1 or 2 years into the deal, Vince signed an extension, so it now goes through 2027 or 2028. But because they missed 2 or 3 shows due to the pandemic, they're going to have to make those up. So unfortunately, it looks like it probably won't be till 2028. I say around 2028 when we don't have to deal with that anymore. Now, if you've watched Raw, you would know one of the sponsors is some sort of like luxury resort in Saudi Arabia, and then they also did a WWE experience in Riyadh, I think it was. So that's been the other thing too. They've held the Saudi shows in either Riyadh or Jeddah, and they're showing that they can work with other companies, but you have to wonder, with the reputation over there, just how much. So stuff like women starting to drive really wasn't until a recent thing. They just now started to build movie theaters. But unfortunately, because of certain things as well, that certain clips of these movies have to get edited out or redone. So, and then it really wasn't until I believe I'll look at the year just to make sure I'm right. Um, I think it was 2018 or 19 is when the first women's wrestling match happened on a on on the pay-per-view over there, which was between Lacey Evans and Natalia. Uh, Now, 1 or 2 years prior, uh, over in that part of the country, they did have a women's match between Alexa Bliss, when she was the goddess, versus Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné, uh, for the women's title. It was at a house show over there. So they show they can work with women, but unfortunately, the bad part is the women have to be in bodysuits. So stuff like, all of their arms can't be shown. Now, luckily, they can show their hands. Now, I will say this. Luckily, one of the things is they don't have to wear the hijab or anything like that to cover their face. I don't. That must have been a newer rule they've put into place for women. Now, you're gonna say, "Oh, what's so bad about that?" Now, I'm not saying it's not bad, but I'm just saying that they're showing that they're trying to work with everybody. Now, I'm putting aside the LGBTQ community, which I unfortunately over in that part of the country, they're not going to talk about, which is fine. That's their understanding. But it's one of those things that shows just how much they're willing to work with. So they have gotten a lot of the major sports and entertainment stuff over there. So they have like a PGA thing over there. They have a MMA fights, UFC fights, all this other stuff like that. Now, and then of course opening up, I think sometime this year, is Six Flags Qiddiya. That is going to be interesting because this is going to be the first time an American-based amusement chain has opened up a park over in that part of the world. But then also, too, having something like Falcon's Flight, which is America's tallest, or the world's tallest and fastest roller coaster. It's some insane amount. I think it's like 7,000 feet of track, going at like 100 and something miles an hour. Essentially, this is going, from at least stuff that I've seen on it, it's going to look like a Disney or Universal style park with the Six Flags name on it. So I don't think we're going to quite see the branding of Looney Tunes and DC and all this stuff as there are Warner Brothers stuff over in that part of the world over there. Coaster Studios did a video about essentially all of that being indoors. So I'm not saying it's going to be bad. It's just going to be more interesting. And well, stuff like if you have an all park passport to Six Flags Cedar Fair, is that going to work over there? And is your food and drink plan going to work over there? Stuff like that. That is something I hope that has been worked out already. If not, it has to be. So, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you like the Six Flags idea as well as the WWE Saudi Arabia deal? Do you not like it? Do you wish it'd go away? Do you wish they would extend it? I want to hear your thoughts.